Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble, reverential, and loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of my beloved Bhagwan, respected elders, dearest sisters and brothers, my loving Sai Rams to you all. When I was asked to give a talk, it was specifically mentioned to me, well, time was a factor as well, but it was specifically mentioned to me to talk about the Young Adults Conference that recently took place in the Holy Sanctum Sanctorum, that is Prashanthi Nilayam. And as always, when we go to Parthi, when we visit Prashanthi Nilayam, there are many lessons for us to learn as a result of the multitude of experiences that we encounter in Parthi. That can be on an individual level, or it can be as part of a collective. And I thought about how to present this to you in the time allocated to me, and I thought I'd split the talk into 3 parts, hopefully 3 short parts. But leading up to the conference, during the duration of being in Parthi, and perhaps post, the lessons learned and how we can imbibe those in our respective lives. So for many of those who are familiar with, and we have some youth that are present here that did have the opportunity of attending the conference in Prashanthi Nilayam, as well as being part of many other streams of activities such as medical camps, Gram Seva, and leadership courses. For those who are familiar with the conference, or who have heard of it, it took place between the dates of the 12th to the 14th of July. But for me, the process began exactly a year back. Again, some of us who were part of the pilgrimage that had the opportunity to be on that pilgrimage last year, the UK pilgrimage. I remember as soon as I returned back to the UK, immediately I called up our UK chair, Pratap Bhai, and I asked him, so when do you want me to quit? Because I had in my mind, I'd done my job. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because we always think we have our plan. We have these plans that we build up, but Swami has the master plan. Man proposes and God disposes, as the saying goes. And he said to me at the time, no, you still have your term to complete. I thought my job was done. UK pilgrimage is over and done with, and I thought, that's it. I can, retire easily. But little did I realize that Swami had something else in store for me. And within a space of, let's say, a week or so, early September, I received a phone call from one of my close brothers from the US, who at the time, up until the conclusion of the conference, was the Zonal Young Adults Coordinator for Zone 1, US, Canada, and Mexico. And he had actually approached me saying, look, we're planning to do this conference. I want you to be program lead for this program, for this conference. And it came as a surprise to me, but something in the back of my mind, and it's something I've tried to maintain throughout, particularly in recent years, something was telling me that this is an opportunity that Swami has given you. So what am I trying to drive home here? Lesson number 1, let's not plan, well, we can plan as much as we want, but ultimately Swami has already decided what is in store for us. And second lesson for all the youth, as well as all the devotees generally, whenever an opportunity comes to you, let's not shy away from that opportunity. Take that as an opportunity that Swami has given us. So the journey for me actually began from September last year. And slowly over the course of however many months, groups formed, conference calls were underway. And it was a very stressful period for me. Coming back from Parthi, juggling, as perhaps some of us, if not a lot of us here are familiar with, juggling the necessities of life, the duties that we have towards our work, for some of us, on top of that, our families, but also towards this organization. Things were getting more and more hectic. And so it got to a situation that the work environment for me got really toxic. And it was a case where wherever an opportunity I had throughout the day, I'd attend calls at work, lunchtime, come home, attend conference calls. It got so involved for me. But the toxicity at work kept on building up more and more. And unfortunately, or I say fortunately, maybe it is, I say unfortunately, maybe it's fortunate because Swami is the doer. I ended up losing my job. I was made redundant in the month of March. And see, at the time, when we're chucked in a situation we don't understand, where we may be confused, we may question, Swami, why is this happening to me? Why are all these, why am I receiving all these negative hits, all these impacts in life? Why is that the case? But again, his master plan, we can never deny his master plan. As Swami says, his tests are his tastes. And this was one massive test for me. And only later on did I realize that as the months progressed, from March onwards, leading up to July, leading up to the departure for Parthi, the role that was allocated to me essentially became a full-time job. The number of calls I attended increased further more and more. The hours, the late nights increased. You'd be up till midnight, post-midnight. And some of us who have been on trips, who have been part of planning groups, are familiar with this. So when I look back on that incident, on that episode, I have to thank Swami, because how would I have managed to balance both aspects of what my job is and at the same time what he wants from me? And some of you may be thinking, but still, but your work is your bread and butter. See, he is the provider of everything. This is something that I've come to realize over the many years, and perhaps some of you will share these sentiments as well. Swami is the provider of everything, and if we have the utmost faith in him, he will deliver. At the end of the day, other than him, who else do we have? So that was one major lesson for me in terms of the build-up to the conference. Now, when we're in Parthi, everything is planned. And as some of us can allude to, things go a bit topsy-turvy in Prashanthi Nilayam. We may plan one thing, he has another plan altogether. You will go for a range of emotions. You'll be chucked left, right, and center. You'll be tested continuously. For me, I can definitely say it was a period of being tested in terms of the ego, the emotions that would come forth. I often used to say to youth that Parthi is like a churning ground for us. Whatever emotions we have, those negative emotions, as little as we may think they are, or as suppressed we may think we have those emotions, Swami will bring them to the fore, and we will truly be tested. The 12th and the 13th and 14th were the conference dates. I had an opportunity to deliver a talk in Sai Kulwantwal. Now, again, you look back on these experiences, and I can only say, but Swami was the one that was actually prepping me, because over the last year and a half, opportunities were coming my way. I'd be asked to give a small talk here, to address a crowd, to address, pilgrims in Parthi, this and that. Even as such, summarizing somebody's talk. And I always used to think, why are these opportunities coming my way? But it was Swami was preparing me for that opportunity. So the talk was delivered, lots of pats on the back. But imagine this moment, you can be at the heights of ecstasy, and all of a sudden, Swami will bring you back down. And what had happened leading up to that, the MC who had to introduce me and myself, we were frantically running around. So imagine, Vedam starts 8 o'clock inside Kulwantwal. We hadn't even reached Kulwantwal. Everyone's wondering, where are these guys? They're meant to be sat here, 7:45, the latest. And it's, Vedam is ongoing, it's 8:10, these guys have not even arrived. And we were looking for a printer to print off some, the talks or the MC notes and that. We couldn't find anything. Anyway, message finally came through. We finally received the message that everything is sorted, please hurry back to Sai Kulwantwal. Even in that moment, the brother was constantly trying to contact the individual who was meant to do the prints. Unfortunately, he couldn't get through to him. I say unfortunately, that's his leela. That's his doing. We just leave it to Swami. So we get there, Vedam's over, talk is delivered, etc. Bhajans are concluded, morning sessions completed. Walking back, I meet one of the leads. So 3 leads that we had, overarching leads for the conference. And he said, we need to have a talk. Imagine this is in Sai Kulwantwal. For those who are familiar with Sai Kulwantwal, imagine the East Prashanthi gate, or where we have the Krishna statue on East Prashanthi, outside the Bhajan Mandir. And he said, we need to have a talk. I said, well, what happened? He goes, well, there's a lot of things we need to discuss. I said, well, why? What happened? You're not happy with the talk I gave? Imagine, the ego that's there. He goes, no, your talk is brilliant, but your overperformance is very bad. And that literally just brought me down. I was like, can you imagine, in Cycle and Tour of all places, to be told that amongst the hustle and bustle of Prashanthi Nilayam, I'm thinking, what have I done? But the thing is, these sort of things we go through because Swami essentially wants to teach us to have that, to maintain that equanimity. That no matter what comes in your way, praise or criticism, the highs, the lows, victory or defeat, just maintain that ekatva bhava, that equanimity. And the same individual, after the conclusion of the conference, turned around and said to me, you did a fantastic job. And I could not just help but sit back and marvel at Swami's Leela, because the same individual who 2 days back criticized me and said, your overall performance is bad, is now saying to me, you've done a fantastic job. Who is that? Who is actually the one that's speaking through him? Swami. So that taught me something in terms of, you'll get a lot of plaudits in life. You'll get individuals that'll come up to you and say, job well done, you're in a role within the organization. Individuals at times will say, you've done a fantastic job, you delivered this program fantastically. You'll always get your individuals that will criticize you. For me, there's two ways of looking at this. One I've already mentioned in terms of having that equal-mindedness to everything. Wherever there is criticism, you take that on board if it's constructive criticism, but don't be drawn down by it. Because ultimately, as long as we've done our best, as long as we've delivered our best for Swami, that's all that matters. The rest of it, he will take care of. And that's all he wants at the end of the day. And to borrow a quote, Swami has often said, Yatna pratnamu manava dharmamu. At the end of the day, the man or the devotee, the bhakta has to put in his or her effort. The rest is left to God. It's like two opposing poles. God's grace is always there, but we have to put in our effort. And as long as we've done that aspect, the rest will be taken care of. So that was something I encountered. Other instances where, individuals may take credit for the job that you've done, the good work that you think that you've done, and individuals will be there taking the credit for it. Or other individuals will be praised for something that you've put the effort in. That's a great learner for you, because what happens is that the ego comes forth, jealousy comes forth, you're tested there. And imagine, like I said in Prashanthi Nilayam, all these emotions come forth. And it was the same for all of us, or particularly myself, where I was noticing all this happening around me, and these emotions would come forth. I'd be angry, anger would come forth. Why is this individual getting the praise? I'm the one that's going around, running around doing all this work. Jealousy would come forth. But then the thought at the back of my mind would be, hang on a minute. Swami is aware of everything. You do your duty. Leave the rest of him. He is the silent witness. Just leave it to Swami. Whoever has to get praise will get praise. Ultimately, Swami is the all-knowing, the all-pervasive. And he is the one that will take care of everything. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that whatever happens in our life, I've narrated something in Prashanthi Nilayam, be it in the organization, be it in our respective lives at work, amongst our peers, we live in the family dynamics. There will be those instances, but we have to have the utmost faith in Swami that he is there, he's taking care, he knows everything. We just have to deliver our duty. Now, the theme of the conference was on reconnect, recharge, and rejoice. But there's one important R, which a few of the elders had alluded to, and that's the case of reflection. So like any other Prashanthi Nilayam trip, like we're doing now, we're having this satsang, any trip that we undertake to Bharti, we always must reflect on that. But the theme, as I mentioned, reconnect, recharge, and rejoice. Reconnect in what sense? Being there in Bharti, being amongst our fellow brothers and sisters, imbibing those positive vibes, stimulating ourselves in activity. But from the theme, the one thing that really stood out for me was, or the lesson for me that I learned was, how do we rejoice? Because as a youth, we lead very hectic lives, or among a lot of the youngsters here would agree with that, how do you may question, how do I juggle, all these various balls that I have in my life, this activity, that activity, this responsibility and that responsibility, this mode of life and that mode of life. How can I juggle that? And how can I remain focused on Swami? And one lesson that I took back was that because we're always complaining, or it may seem that we complain that how can we always be recharged? We get fatigued. A lot of youth say in the organization, there's so much activity going on, you don't have time for myself, or I'm so fatigued out. I'm so tired, I'm exhausted from all this. And one of the lessons that Swami had given was that if we engage in activity that is selfless activity, that recharge, that power would automatically be there with us. We had, that was one of the main points that came from the indoor stadium session that we had, where we were lucky to be blessed with the likes of Karunamochi Ma'am, Brother Premanosh and Sai Sir. And one of these questions was put forth, that how do we maintain that recharge? A lot of us at times, we find we go to Bharti, we recharge and we come back to our respective homes, and that energy dissipates over time. And that was a very important lesson for me, something that I thought, I need to imbibe more of, that selfless activity and selfless service. On the same note of selfless activity, selfless service, one of the elders, one of the zonal chairs had addressed the audience in Cycle and Tour. And in the same theme of selfless service, he said, if you truly want to experience Swami, and he narrated many episodes where Swami would come up to him, interact with him, the many episodes, the many interviews he had, but he attributed all of that to one thing, the selfless service that he'd engaged in. And he said to the youth, and this is one of the things I'm trying to drive home to everyone, is that if we engage in selfless service, it's wonderful, we do everything, bhajans, Vedam, everything is wonderful. But the point of selfless service, if we engage in that, wholeheartedly, genuinely, Swami will be there. We will feel Swami's presence throughout our lives, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout our lives. We'll experience Swami's presence. And that sort of answered the question for me in terms of, okay, how do I maintain that recharge? So conference went well. But coming back, so I've talked about pre-conference and then being there in Prashanti Nilayam. What is the lessons for us to learn? Or more importantly, what is it that the youth can learn? What did they take away from this? We were I think, in terms of a UK contingent, we were the second largest outside of India in terms of representation. And with Swami's grace, we had the opportunity, or the youth had the opportunity to engage in various facets of the program. We're very blessed in that sense. But there is always that question of what should be done. We've encountered all this, we've experienced all this. What is it that needs to be done when we come back here? And again, on the same theme of maintaining that connection with Swami, sadhana is absolutely essential, that personal sadhana. Swami has emphasized it so many times. Swami has said that, in terms of the connotation of the youth is not merely on the physical level. There's so much more. The youth have to be dynamic. There has to be, and Swami, the discourse that was shown earlier, I believe that's from the Second World Youth Conference in 1999. Swami talked about that unity, that whatever the youth are engaged in, there has to be that element of unity. So I talked about the ups and downs, emotions that I had, and we may think, oh, my friend has said this or that. But Swami, at the end of the day, Swami has said that your true friend is only God. I'm reminded of an episode where Swami had once called up one of the tiny tots from the primary school, and Swami said, who is your true friend? And that junior had said, Swami, you are my true friend. And Swami said, pointed to all the others, what about them? Swami said, the youngster said, they're all my brothers. So we get caught up in emotions, but we have to remind ourselves that ultimately our true friend is Swami. Everyone else is our brothers and sisters. In Trey, once Swami had said that when he gave the definition of friendship, he said, the friendship that we assume is not true friendship, because if we do not conform to the ways and the thoughts of others around us, that friendship will truly sink. The only true friendship is that of maintaining with God. And for some of us, we had our highs and lows. I repeat the same thing again. It was a reminder for ourselves that Swami is our true inner friend. And maintaining that relationship here in the UK, and at the same time, having that relationship with all the brothers and sisters, viewing them as brothers and sisters, we can truly form a contingent, a youth force going forward that will take the organization forward. This conference was essentially aimed at the youth in view of the centenary celebrations, but not just in terms of the centenary celebrations, to inspire the youth to become the leaders of tomorrow or for next year, but to take the organization forward. And it is with that, I finish on these actual final words that let's pray to Swami. There are many opportunities that will come in all of our lives, next year being one massive opportunity in terms of the centenary year. But I pray to Swami that may he always keep all of us, mind, body, and Atma, at his divine lotus feet. Why I say those words? Because essentially that's the true MBA. If one was to use the analogy of, an academic analogy, mind, body, and Atma, Swami has said that's the true MBA of life. And if we were to pursue that and have that focus of always remaining at his divine lotus feet, we can truly go on and succeed in life and achieve the PhD of life, which is being a pure-hearted devotee, and thus complete that syllabus of pure love for which he has come to teach us all. And I believe when we're in that right frame of mind, when we are focused on his divine lotus feet, then we can truly remain reconnected, recharged, and rejoiced in Sai love. And with those words, I bring this talk to an end. Sairam.